And welcome back to the channel. And if you're new here, welcome to First Love Yourself, where love, life, and Christ combine. I'm so grateful to have you here on this channel with me as I go through my journey of self empowerment and discovery. In today's video, we are going to talk about paying attention to the details, or it's in the details. But before we get started, if you're new here, go ahead and give me a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel so you never miss out on more uplifting content like this. So get comfortable because we are about to get into it. Let's go. Okay, so yesterday I was not in the best of moods. I try to be in a really great mood yesterday during Thanksgiving. I really had the best mindset. I prayed in the morning, everything, and it's like the spiritual warfare was just coming in heavy. It was, and I don't like to make excuses or anything, but just so you can get context behind everything. This is the first Thanksgiving without certain people who were there last year, things like that, and then like a transition in my life. It was just a lot at once, and although those things didn't hinder me from being able to experience my family, it did give me like an emotional, spiritual block during that time, and it really took a little moment to get it together. And I really had to meditate and pray and like do a bunch of stuff just to be able to focus on what was really important. And I know sometimes when we get on these platforms and we do certain stuff, people expect you to be perfect and just to never have a bad day or to never feel sad or angry or anything. And yes, I'm smiling today because today was a great day. And I got to, of course, again, experience time with family, which is amazing. It's always amazing. It's always amazing to spend time with family. And so whenever I get an opportunity, I try to cherish every moment. And so sometimes I don't always have the best of attitudes. Like I don't take it out on anyone else, but I try to get to myself, go step away for a second, whatever else I got to do to recompose myself so I can come back with a better attitude, because I never want to take out my emotional battles or whatever I'm dealing with or struggling with internally on anybody else, because it's nobody else's problem. It's my problem. And so I try to make sure that I like keep that in mind when I'm doing different stuff in life. And I'm talking so fast right now. I'm like, slow down. And so when I was after yesterday and then going through today, I started to think about how sometimes we want to answer from God, or sometimes we're looking for direction, or we're looking for things in our life. And well, the direction, the information that we need is in the details. We're trying to figure out what we're going to do here, what we like here, what we want to do here, if we should take the job, not take the job, whatever else. And it's just like, it's in the details. You have all the answers that you need already. Most of the time, you just have to ask for the discernment, do a pro and con list, whatever else it is that you got to do. And a lot of the times we pretend as if we don't have to do that, or we pretend as if we don't know what the answer is. And for me, it could be really difficult because sometimes I want something real bad. like like last year, or the year, what was it, last year and some change ago, when the one guy, it was like, oh my gosh. And God was like, absolutely not. And I was like, but and I just was really like, interesting. And so I really struggled during that time, because the whole time it was like, they say if it's confusing, if you get a bunch of confusion, that's not the person for you. If you don't get a direct yes from God, that's either God trying to teach you something in this season, or that's an absolute no. Like I think if if you could like really put harsh words on it, it'd be like absolutely positively no. So so sometimes when you want something, you might want the job, like, oh, I would make so much money and it just would be so amazing to have all of this money. And God's like, do you want the money, peace of mind, or do you want a job where you can have both? Because you don't have to sacrifice one for another. Sometimes we feel like we got to be in one situation because that's the best that God has. And that might not be the best that God has in a job, in a person, place, or thing. So it's important for us to really pay attention to the details. So I wrote down 3 things. Usually it's always 3 things for some reason. I don't know if it's the Father, the Son, and the Holy Ghost, or why it's always 3, but it is. And so, so sometimes you do have to pay attention to the little things. For me, There were little things in the past that I did not pay attention to because it was something I wanted so badly. And God was trying to tell me, no, 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 no. And I was just like, but this looks like this. I was like, I had something to combat every single thing that I really wanted. Like, God, but this makes so much money, but this does this. And God's like, no, it's a no still. Like, why are you trying to convince me? And we don't want to look into the details. We really have to take a moment and stop just trying to put so much on our plate that we don't have a moment to actually think about the things that matter to us. We we sit there and we're like, okay, well, let's just do this. Let's just make a rash decision. If you're making a rush decision most of the time, that's not God. God would never want you to abruptly make a decision about any person, place, or thing. And if it's from God, there's nothing that you could do to sabotage it or destroy it, because God will make sure that you get that person, that place, or that thing. And that's something that helps me a lot. You know, I'm the type of person, I hate to admit this, but I feel like it's important to be transparent, that self sabotages. And I will get into a situation, I push people away, say something really strange that will just drive the person away. And it's not strange like weird, but it's like, I know it would be something that someone would not be okay with. And so I would say something like that because I would want the person to like leave or something like that. And so for the most part, I've gotten better at it, but I still catch myself doing it even to this day. And so that's something that I know I need to work on, regardless of where I am in life or what situation I'm in, and or relationship or friendship or whatever else. I need to make sure that I'm not sabotaging this friendship because I hurt. I can't. I need to make sure that I'm not sabotaging this relationship because I don't want to get hurt. I got to make sure I'm not sabotaging any opportunity, because in the past it's been, I haven't felt like I deserved that position, but now I know that I do. And so paying attention to the little details, like, okay, what does this really mean? What is this really saying in this moment? What is this really like? Is this really something that's beneficial for me or not? Is this something that I really can do, or is this something that I'm just trying to force myself to do? Like, when you write down that pro con list, when you really look at things for what they are and not what you want them to be, it really helps you determine what's the best decision for you. The second thing is listen for direction and discernment from God. Sometimes we just want to do our own thing. We got like this idea in our head, like, okay, let me just make this decision because I could check with God later. Like you meet somebody, you're like, oh, I like this person. Then you're like, God, I'm gonna date this person. I saw this short from Ariel Fitzpatrick, and and she did this short or whatever, and it was like, God, I met this guy, and she was like, and the angel and God was there, and she was talking to them, and she was like, so you want to tell me that you met this guy? And she's like, no. And the angel's like, no, and God's like, no, and she's like, I'll find out for myself. And they're like, we saw this coming. I feel like that's how it really is in real life sometimes, when you decide to make your own decisions without discernment. In any situation that's major for me, I always check with God first. If God says no, I pull back. I make sure that I distance myself from the situation. And if God says yes afterwards, because he's going to decide to use this as a teaching lesson, as a journey, or if it's for life, then I make sure that I follow God's lead. I don't just jump ahead of him and say, I want this, so now God needs to be okay with it. I try to make sure that whatever decision I'm making is okay with God, and then I decide after. And sometimes it's hard. Sometimes I really like something. I really like a person, place, or thing. I really want to go to this thing, and God's like, you don't need to be there yet. I really want this thing, and God's like, listen, you need to budget better before you even purchase this thing. Do you understand me? God's like, oh, you want this person, but I told you no. You need to make sure that you wait on me because I have something better for you. Stop trying to force things in your life that are not supposed to be there. Anything that's God flows, anything that's not God is forced. Always remember that. And the third thing is know what you need or want in your life. Like, and when I say want, I mean, there was this cute little like thing that came out yesterday that says something like, and I heard this in Bruce Almighty too back in the day, but they used it in like this Instagram post or something. And it said something along the lines of, if God was standing right in front of you right now and he asked you what it was that you want, most people can't answer that question. Some people sitting on here right now, like, if I know what I want this, this, and this, and then you get it, is it truly going to make you happy? Is that really what you want? Because sometimes we say, trying to think of a good example, sometimes we say something like, I want a guy who is six foot, who makes six figures, who has a six pack of abs, who wants two kids or something. I don't know what your thing is, right? You're saying that, and God gives you this 6 foot, six pack of abs, six figure guy who wants two kids. He does not speak your love language at all. You got what you asked for, but was that really what you wanted, or did you want somebody who was going to make you feel safe and seen? Did you really just want somebody who you weren't going to feel like you had to force to be with you? Did you really not just want somebody who was going to make you feel like you're a choice and not an option? Like, what is the thing that you really, really desired? Because sometimes we have in our head these things of what the world is saying. Like, the world is saying that we should want a guy like that, or you should want a woman who's shaped like this. And I'm not saying you can't get a woman shaped like that, but do you really want peace, or do you want the shape? I mean, you could probably have both to an extent, but you have to really figure out what's most important to you. What do you really want? And then ask God for that, and then go for that. Not just try to pretend as if you know. Like, I want you to, I know this is a little homework and people don't like doing this, but if you really want to do real work to try to be a better person, take a moment. And first off, we got the thing where every day you're writing down 5 things that you're grateful for first thing in the morning. The other thing that I want you to do is I want you to really think about what it is that you want in a person, place, or thing. If you are waiting on a spouse or a person, relationship wise or whatever else, write down what that would look like for you. Things that you actually desire, not just because the world's telling you need a seven figure guy, or the world's telling you that you need a guy that looks like he just stepped off the front page of a magazine, or you need a guy that's driving this muscle car, or this, I'm trying to think of cars, driving this luxury vehicle, or I don't know what the world be saying. The world be saying a whole bunch of stuff, and I'm like, what does that even matter? Because I'm weird. But, I'm always like, what's more important to me is real stuff, because I really got to deal with this person. I'm not just trying to take a picture to look cute with this person. Although I do love taking pictures, but that's besides the point. The point is, what's most important to me is internally, if I'm being taken care of emotionally. Like, I'm not just trying to be with somebody that's just going to just drop a bag on me and then be like, oh, well, I never got to see you because I'm just making sure you're good. Like, no, but my emotions, like, your mind is your largest sexual organ. I'm not being penetrated mentally. So what are you doing? So we really have to think of what really matters to us, and what is going to really be the thing that we actually need. And God does a really good job at choosing those things for us. Sometimes we don't know we need somebody that's going to be a little patient because you're still healing. Sometimes you don't know that you need a person who is going to pay attention to your whatever your love language is. If you really love quality time and physical touch, or if you really love acts of service, or if you really love whatever else it is, right? You have to know what your love language is, so that when someone comes along, you can make sure that they are paying attention to what it is that you actually need, and not just doing a bunch of things because they feel like they like gifts, so they want to give you gifts. Gifts might not be your love language. You might want quality time. Quality time might not be your love language. You might want acts of service. You might want words of affirmation. If that's your thing, you got to make sure that the person that you're with is going to be willing to do that. Not hold all your words of affirmation hostage because they know that you're going to be literally struggling without it. Not that you need it, but the relationship is going to be, sometimes when you don't get the things that you need or you don't give the person the things that they need, it can really make the person feel like you don't want them, but really you do want them. You just have a different love language. So you just have to figure out what you actually want, what you actually need, and make sure that you love yourself. And I was going to say women, but everybody does this so, at some point in their lives. Sometimes we settle for things that we know we deserve better for because we feel like that's the best that God has. And it's not. There's always something better. And that does not mean that we pull the grass is greener syndrome and all of a sudden start comparing people to other people and act like, well, this person does A and I want A instead of B. Like, you really have to appreciate the things that you have, but don't settle. Don't just settle for anything because you deserve so much more than that. You deserve everything that you thought that you were going to get. And I don't mean some unrealistic standard on some 3-page list that you wrote a long time ago because you feel like a guy is going to reach all of those things you wrote down. I mean real stuff, because you're going to really be with this person, So you have to really think what really matters to you and if you truly love yourself. You could be treated well and then not treated well. You need to know that you love yourself, you honor yourself, and you respect yourself enough to just walk away if you're not being treated well. And if you are being treated well, you got to know how to appreciate the person that you're with for who they are and not try to make them be somebody else. So that's all I got for tonight. I didn't want to be on here too long, but I did want to make sure that I popped in, and I'm just having a little moment. I'm trying to get it together because life be life and sometimes, for real. And I really want everyone to love themselves. Sometimes I see people that I know, that I care about, dealing with a bunch of stuff, and I just wish they knew that they deserved better than that. Sometimes you'll have friends, you'll have people that just want to settle because they feel like this is the best that there is, or there's some sort of tie or something. And it's just like, if you know you deserve to be treated like that, treated better than that, then why settle for that? I think everybody deserves God's best for them. And everybody deserves to be respected, honored, and treated the right way. So I hope that you pay attention to the details because it's important. You only have this life. So cherish it, appreciate it, and do the things that you really, really desire to do. If you want to see that car, that's your dream car, go see it. If you want to learn a new dance or a new skill, go do it. Like, don't wait around for somebody else or wait around for something else to happen before you do it because you don't know how long you have. Appreciate your life. Life is way too short to just waste it on anything that doesn't appreciate you, to waste it on any person, place, or thing that does not see your true value. You have to know who you are because the world is never going to know you like you do. The world is never going to be with you every day like you're there with you. When I was really in a super dark moment, I feel comfortable sharing this because it might help somebody. But when I was in a really super dark moment, I used to have to tell myself, I will be with you always. Because sometimes we forget that the longest relationship we have is with ourselves. We literally love ourselves. We really are there with ourselves in our darkest, most happiest, every single emotion that we have. We are the ones that are there with ourselves. We are the ones that will never leave ourselves. We're the ones that will be there with us while we're sad, while we're happy, while we are getting a promotion, while we are getting into a relationship, while every stage of our lives. And I would always remind myself, I'm always with you. I always love you. You are always worthy. Because if ain't nobody else gonna do it, you gotta do it for yourself. Like, I'm so serious. Sometimes, and I don't mean it like we gotta diss or take a dig at somebody else to feel better about ourselves. I don't believe in that at all. I mean that you got to really know who you are, because the world will really try to tell you who they want you to be. The world will try to make you feel like you don't deserve to be appreciated or chosen, but you do. Always remember that. So that's all I got for tonight. I appreciate you sticking with me and watching this video. So go ahead and give me a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel, and I will see you guys tomorrow. Have an amazing, well, it's late now, so you might not be up that long, but I hope you had an amazing day, and I will see you tomorrow, God willing. Good night.